Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to Pinball Arcade. So today we're doing Doctor Who, so let's just hop in. You will be interrogated? Um, doesn't, don't they say you will be eliminated? Or disintegrated? Man, I don't know the old Doctor Who, so I don't know oh, I can't even remember the name of them. They're one of the most famous bad guys, and I can't even remember the name of the bad guys. Well, I am not a classic Doctor Who fan. I liked the Doctor Who reboot when they got rid of the first guy who was kind of a mean jerk uh, as far as personality. And then the second and third Doctor from the Doctor Who reboot was fine. And then what I think kind of happens with the Doctor Who reboot is that once you have like two or three new doctors doing worse than the previous doctors, you start to get nostalgic goals, and you start to like the reboot previous doctors more and more. Uh, but yeah, there was maybe 6 years of BBC series of the Doctor Who reboot that were really good, and at this point in 2021, it's really bad. Um, I just don't think the BBC has the right funding, for lack of a better term, or the right talent to make Doctor Who really great. Arguably, you could also say that Doctor Who, if it were handed, say, to the Sci-Fi Channel in the West, would have probably been done any better. Or even if you handed it over to, say, Disney ABC, that it would have done any better. Um, because in all fairness, sci-fi just doesn't work on TV as well as it is as I think it should. It is a niche audience. While it's a fairly large niche audience, it's still a niche audience, and sci-fi shows, particularly if you've went over spent a couple of decades following the Sci-Fi Channel, when it first came out, sci-fi shows were constantly started and then abruptly ended for unsatisfactory endings. At the very least, when you compare that to anime, and this is a odd comparison, but if you have an anime single season of a show that's based off a manga, you can go and read the manga and finish it. Or same is somewhat similar to the Marvel comics, although typically a Marvel movie, if it doesn't go into more detail, and then you try to read the Marvel comics as supplemental material, it doesn't make any sense because they're not telling the same story at all. But at least you could read some more stories of Superman, which would be DC, not Marvel, or the Avengers, things like that. Um, Manga and anime is much more in line. Almost, I'd say the majority of anime shows do try to stay very similar to the manga and don't change things around. But yeah, we're talking about Doctor Who. Doctor Who 1992 was still 1992 tables, is a unique table inspired by the long-running science fiction TV show Doctor Who featuring the original Doctor Who theme song TARDIS, Doctors, Companions, and Villains from the series. This innovative game designed by Barry Osler and Bill Futzenretter, boy is that a German name, I haven't heard of him, tasks the player with rescuing each of the original 7 doctors from the Master, who is kind of a main villain of the Doctor, but he kind of only pops up at specific big elemental points. Um, uh, each one adding a new dimension to the rule set. Multiball is played via a 3-level time expander mini playfield that raises up to reveal more targets, allowing players to defeat Davos. Davos is the bad guy who created the Daleks. That's the enemy that made the sound, and I forgot the name of. Davos and his Daleks and restore Earth's time to normal. The Doctor is in. 7,752 units of this table were produced. I think it's worth pointing out that it would have taken a decent amount of fandom to get this table greenlit. And here we have another table with a barcode, and it just does not make any sense that you'd have to have a barcode in the outlane of your table. So here's one iteration of the Master. Behind him are the metallic rolling hovering tanks of the Daleks. I guess, although at this point it was only in the reboot that they were revealed to be able to hover and fly. There we have one of the Doctors and one of his companions. There we have one of the Doctors and one of his companions. There we have one of the Doctors and two of his companions. Another Doctor and a companion. Another Doctor and a companion. So I would say, particularly in the United States, fandom for Doctor Who not particularly high. These would have been tape traders at that in 1992 more than anything. People who were recording it off the airways in the UK and then shipping tapes to conventions, usually sci-fi conventions. This also kind of highlights, there's another Doctor and companion. This also highlights a case of the first generation of sci-fi fans and how they kind of grew to dislike the second generation of sci-fi fans, and vice versa, because you hit a second generation of sci-fi fans that are all about Marvel movies, and probably that you better describe those as third or fourth generation sci-fi fans. But yeah, the fandom for comic book movies and all of that, and fantasy in general, is far from what the hard sci-fi stories in Doctor Who in its original iteration was much more of a slow, closer to hard sci-fi story than you would think. So it seems like this is where the playfield moves with the time expander. Interesting. Like, we had the thought of a moving playfield in Earthshaker, but that got removed before it was released. We've got some very small pop-up bumpers. We've got a ramp here that maybe you can hit with this left flipper, and we're back to Williams flippers. You've got a ramp here you can hit that will send it back and around to the in lane. You have something here that goes all the way up here, and I think I have no idea actually where that goes. And see, I don't know what this gate is all about, that it sometimes opens and sometimes closes. I guess that's just, you've got a lot of drop down targets, far too many. I think 6 drop down targets, spelling repair, very vertical. This could be a fairly difficult thing. And then you have really tiny drop down targets here, spelling escape, where at a certain level you might as well just have 2 letters light up instead of having that happen, because you're almost certainly going to hit 2 or 3 of those in a shot anyways. This is definitely an old Doctor Who logo. You launch, you have a pop-up bumper through the TARDIS, which a table like this needs the TARDIS. That's his time machine, in case you don't know Doctor Who. But no big emphasis on the magic wand sonic screwdriver. Yeah. Looks like there might be some Gallifreyan written in the art. Whatever Gallifreyan, which that's the species of the Doctor. Although, arguably, spoiler for the most recent season, it's not the species of the Doctor. There's a sinkhole back here. Yeah, I'm a little surprised there isn't a sonic screwdriver. element is, like, if you're going to make a modern table, you would definitely have a sonic screwdriver as the plunger, and maybe multiple sonic screwdrivers that you could take your pick and use. But it's just a button launcher and an auto launcher. All right, well, I don't think we're going to get any further with this until we start playing. I definitely feel like it would have taken some convincing to make a Doctor Who themed table, although the license may have been fairly easy, if they even licensed it. Looking at the flyer, I'm not seeing anything here that seems to credit the BBC. And the idea of collecting one of the 7 original Doctors and that changing the gameplay is weird, to say the least. I also think it's worth mentioning that there was a Western, not made by the BBC, licensed movie for the 8th Doctor that is pretty much ignored, but technically, canonically, there is an 8th Doctor, and they didn't bother to add that. That would have probably been right about the time that this table came out. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's why the negotiations started to make a licensed Doctor Who tables, because they were trying to sell the license and bring it to the West more with the movie. So we want to start multi-ball, start video mode, transmit a Doctor, transmat a Doctor. Sorry, so that's like transport. Score Who, and score Master's bonus. The Master is not the Master of Doctor Who. So it spots a time. I've got the worst skin possible on the ball. This table feels somewhat similar to Pinbot. So, yeah, in a lot of ways it is just that. So that was the Master's bonus. That was a super easy bonus to get. Just drain in the outlane, apparently. Are we freeing the same Doctors over and over again, or will we just eventually light all 7 of them? It feels like if you were going to remake this, you would just add the modern Doctors to his table, but... Alright, so that should be transmatting. Maybe. So, I think the backboard there has raised for some standing targets. So that was video mode. They did not give me any time to warm up for that. So the table is raising each time, and so now the Daleks are shown. So we're trying to hit these center lane shots to... There's a multi-ball. They're not stand-up targets. They're drop-down targets. You knock them, and then the ball falls down them. Interesting. These sound effects are terrible. it's screaming, and in all fairness, that is what the Daleks sound like. Is basically screaming and full of hate and terrible sound effects. This jackpot is way too easy to get. I would argue that Davos is kind of one of the worst enemies when they brought him back. He doesn't play a good role. And like all the old Doctor Who characters kind of suck. Like, it was a low budget sci-fi show that most of the Doctor Who episodes are like these 3 to 4 to 5 hour long movies that would air on Saturdays because the BBC had nothing else to air. And the budget just couldn't have been that good. So yeah, I think I got a pretty great game there. The Doctors Who... I kind of want to reset the high scores to see what the high scores were. I didn't ever think about potentially having to. Yeah. The Doctor Who Moo. I don't get the MOO part of that. And as far as standard goals, transmat and score WHO. And I'm highlighting totally the wrong thing. This interface is still just awful. You will be interrogated is what it sounds like it's saying. So is there a skill shot at the beginning? If it is, it's not with the launcher. It's probably going up that far right lane. Arguably, the Doctor Who reboot, in a lot of ways, fixed the idea of Doctor Who more than you would think by making the Time Lords show their true colors or become bad guys. Whereas in the original series, the Time Lords are kind of just shown as mostly good guys, and the Master, being a Time Lord, was the exception. When they eventually started to warm up with the reboot, that they introduced the idea of this time war, and all of Gallifrey and all of the Daleks that originally existed in the previous series were locked in a area of time that was effectively nuked off of reality. That way nobody can ever leave using time machines from the time war, and they're just constantly stuck fighting each other. But it saves the rest of the universe because it's the allegory of the United States and the USSR going to nuclear war, and the rest of the world just saying, well, we'll lock you, these two countries, in a isolated place and go about our lives being unaffected by it, instead of being dragged into Cold Wars that arguably still happen today with proxy nations. But that is arguably, frankly, too political. I kind of hate this table just because of the sound effects. And sure, I could turn off the sound effects, but if I do that, then I'm gonna be sitting in silence. I also hate the visuals on this table because they've got these yellow lines behind the yellow flippers, and I think they've intentionally done that to make it feel like the flippers are in multiple places at multiple times, and that just makes a very difficult thing to shoot and see. Well, I just transmatted the doctor. I guess it was that upper right ramp. See, I don't know if I have all the doctors lit up or just one doctor lit up. See, I don't know if there's really a reason to get really cutesy with these shots, or if I should just try and try and just get a high score. I guess that was 3 doctors. 3 doctors are lit, and we're now on the 4th attempt. The master and the doctor both get replaced by other actors. Okay, so short jump, long jump, long jump, long jump, long jump. Doctor, got it. Okay, I figured out the video mode now that I had time to read the instructions. And almost undoubtedly for this table you're going to have a interesting. We pick somebody, I guess. Have to be fairly careful with that upper left flipper so that you don't bounce the ball into a different area. And we're looking for center lane shots to start multi-ball again. So is that, yeah, that was like 5 of the 7 Time Lords. Yeah, I kind of just don't like the visuals and the theme of this table. Like, I feel like you would have to really pander to the niche audience of what I would assume even on 1992 would be tape traders. I know PBS probably was airing some of the Doctor Who old episodes, but that would have been a small collection of Doctor Who. There was a lot of Doctor Who episodes that literally were lost to history, and because they were broadcasted, and then the BBC didn't even manage to keep good backups of their broadcast tapes, and I think there was a fire or something, and we've been able to, in what sounds like pure science fiction really, they've been able to get the transmitted UHF VHF signals that would have been sent to send the signals over the airways to TV antennas. Well, some of that apparently bounced off something like the moon, and those signals have now since been bounced back and been. It took so long that our technology, our technology to read what would have been very Doppler shifted and garbled signals, we can read it back and recover that signal that was thought to be lost for all time. At least that's the story. Now, to me, that sounds like there's a cover story. I'm not much of a conspiracy theorist, but if I was to really suspect, the BBC probably found some tapes somewhere that somebody illegally had a copy of, and they don't want to admit that somebody had stolen masters from the BBC archives, and so they made up a ridiculous story as to how they're recollecting it. But I think there still are at least 7, if not 36 episodes of Doctor Who that just nobody has a copy of. But they again are black and white, old footage, super long episodes. This pinball table feels a lot like the extended fandom elements of Doctor Who, where there are Doctor Who cartoons and Doctor Who spin-off shows and Doctor Who novels, and there's kind of this long tradition of, even once the TV show is done with that specific Doctor, they'll have people write stories for specific generations and iterations of the Doctor and do them as radio dramas, all considered pretty much non-canonical, but it's very much like the Star Wars extended universe, which is just too nerdy for me, both for Doctor Who and Star Wars. Not sure what I'm really trying to accomplish at the moment. It feels like there would be a sneak-in bonus for a table like this, but I'm around that back panel. Yep. One thing I'll say for Pinbot is that Pinbot had a grid of lights that you could hit instead of just the back section of the lights. I think we'll... It seems like you can make 1 or 2 mistakes. Wave 2. Oops. Yeah, it's a fairly boring table. There's not a lot of shots here. There's a gimmick of a moving platform, which is interesting, but I was expecting something very different from what they actually created here. I was expecting there to be a like see-through table that had an under the field play field to hit. I was expecting something that felt like a whole new pinball table. I think it is just a case though of this, the visuals is far too much yellow, far too much red, far too flashy. It lights up each of the almost got extra ball that way. it lights up each of the doctors in like a fresco in the back right there, I just realized. I guess you're just gonna constantly try and go for video mode as you continue trying to light other things. It's a weird table that one of the things I would fix immediately would be to redo all the table art and change it all. But I would pretty much get rid of most of these concepts as far as if I was going to remake this. So how do we spell who? Spell who, shoot the lower W ramp, then the H there, and then the cliffhanger ramp. Okay, so it's a 3-shot. Okay. Alright, well, I see why I didn't do it. So I need to hit I need to get good with the right flipper to hit the H spot. And right now I'm really good at hitting the other area. And arguably in multi-ball. So there's the W. Yeah, I'm gonna mostly just focus on trying to spell who. But if I did get a multi-ball, that would also help it. The Daleks, at a certain point in the reboot, became very bright and colorful. And then they kind of forgot about the bright and colorful Supreme original versions of the Daleks. And they really haven't done too much with the Daleks lately. Also though, I guess I haven't, ever since Jodie Whittaker started, I kind of stopped watching the Doctor Who. That is not because Jodie Whittaker was employed to be the new Doctor Who. It has everything to do with the availability of watching the show. It was briefly easier to see because I had like a TV plan that included BBC America, and BBC America was airing Doctor Who in a reasonable amount of time, but BBC America is not BBC, and they kind of stopped airing Doctor Who's in a reasonable amount of time. I could, if I had cared, I'm sure I found some YouTube uploader who would have uploaded them day and date. But I did, after seeing one or two of the Jodie Whittaker episodes when she started, I was not particularly interested. And I had pretty much already started to lose interest with the previous Doctor, so like I don't feel like the Doctor before Jodie Whittaker ever got into good stride as a Doctor either. Although that does bring about an interesting question, is who is Doctor Who really? Because some actors play him as one character and many other actors play him as a completely different character, and everybody does more than just bring a slight nuance or a different personality to him. They seemingly change him completely, change the Doctor completely to being something completely different, and it has more to do with who's writing them than who's acting the character. And nostalgia goggles, once taken off, really reveals that a lot of Doctor Who episodes, regardless of who's writing them, are terrible. Like, that they would do better in my book, in my opinion, if Doctor Who was a 26 episode minimum per season collection of mostly standalone episodes, the spaghetti, throw in it everything but the kitchen sink mentality should probably be embraced. That's kind of the beauty of the Twilight Zone too, is that there's enough good episodes of the Twilight Zone that you forget about the like absolute terrible episodes of the Twilight Zone. Like particularly, like the very last episode of the Twilight Zone is never even aired. It's so bad. And whenever the Sci-Fi Channel does air the Twilight Zone, they air the 30 out of 60 good episodes that people have nostalgia for and remember. But because Doctor Who often has seasons where there's 9 episodes at most, there's been some seasons where they've tried and experimented with different release numbers, and they call them series instead of seasons, which kind of makes more sense. Some of the series for Doctor Who have had like 9 episodes or 4 movie-length episodes. And that makes a lot of sense, really. Let's see. So can I spell Doctor Who while in multi-ball? Yes, I can. So what does the time expander do? That's one. It feels like succeeding one wave should just start the second wave, though. Not make you hit it. Now we've got Who blinking. We got the H blinking. This very well may be one of those tables where it's just gonna have an angle that is fairly hard for me to hit. That I just hit it, but I didn't hit it fast enough. Get that, and then I need to get it up the ramp, which means that should have worked, but I didn't hit it hard enough. If I could get the W and H, then go on the multi-ball, there's a decent chance I could get lucky there. So getting center lane shots, although not exactly center lane shots are needed. They are slightly to the left and slightly to the right center lane shots. I cannot get enough power to get up the center lane. This is a fairly empty field. I feel like I've spent more of the time talking about Doctor Who than the table, though. Yeah, if you ignore the table completely, this does just feel like a Pinbot clone that's slightly worse. It does seem like in a lot of ways it has mirrored a lot of what Pinbot had. But Pinball had a better launch. Pinball, I can't say had better audio, but had a more simplistic theme, and there might be something said for that. So I guess when you get the two balls into these stations, I guess those are repair stations, and at that point you're doing this really slow process to repair something, but it feels like what you're actually repairing may be the Daleks on mistake, which I think is very in line with a Doctor Who episode where where the Doctor would get tricked into repairing the Daleks and bringing them back as an enemy once again. The table couldn't go much taller, otherwise you'd be hitting the top glass. I don't think cheating on this table is going to help you either. I think the gimmick of the 7 Doctors is not working particularly well. Like, they are unimportant characters not really being focused on, whereas if you just look at the artwork, this is all about the Master and the Daleks. There's far too many Daleks on the artwork at the bottom of the playfield. You would definitely want to change up that art and have all of the 7 Doctors shown on the playfield to highlight that. I feel like this table was designed by somebody who was obsessed with the Master way more than I think the fandom would have been. Although maybe I'm wrong about that. Maybe in 1992, Doctor Who fans were obsessed with the Daleks and the Masters way more. But yeah, if you knew nothing about Doctor Who, you'd look in that lower playfield and you'd say, well, clearly the Master that's being shown is Doctor Who, and these other guys are the bad guys. Like, it would be easy to think the Daleks are the good guys from the looks of this table. That's just bad design, thematically speaking. If I was going to make a new Doctor Who table, though, I don't think I'd change too much. It'd just be better graphics, better audio, introduce more Doctors, introduce the introduce some of the things that were introduced in the reboot, like the phrase timey-wimey. You definitely want that said. Some of the lines of dialogue, you'd want the new Doctors, you'd want the new companions. The companions are not playing any real role here. Where there haven't been an incredibly large amount of new enemies that are really well liked, but you would introduce the Weeping Angels from the reboot, the Silence, the Solentars, I believe they're called. They're big, like rhinoceros people. You probably want to introduce Gallifreyans and Gallifrey as a concept. A big glass domed city of Gallifrey on the table would make a lot of sense. Whatever Doctor you select at the beginning is the Doctor that runs away, so they animated that video multiple times for no good reason. probably want to focus more on the intelligence of the Doctor instead of his ability to run away. The Doctor gives a whole bunch of speeches in a lot of episodes, and usually he's a avatar of moral righteousness. Oops. So I guess interrogated is the word they're saying there instead of disintegrated. They do say exterminate, but I guess they did. That was too violent. Alright. So we want to get a W shot, and then we want to get an H shot, and then we want to get everything up the ramp if we can. Come on, get that O. I think that would have been spelled the O, but I didn't hit it in time. I don't know. But just get a really powerful shot up there. Oops. Yeah, he mentions one of his companions, Ace, which that's like one companion being mentioned. So I wonder if we had a different Doctor selected, would a different companion be shown or mentioned? They often, in the early episodes too, would have like female companions that were there for kind of no reason, and a lot of times the companions are just there for no reason, just to be the idiot in the room to explain things to, but then they don't really explain any of the sci-fi because it's not as hard sci-fi as real hard sci-fi. It's just more hard sci-fi, I would say, than standard sci-fi is today, where it's just like, oh, it's magic, basically. We'll say some gibberish to make you feel like it doesn't feel like magic, but it is effectively magic. Yeah, I think if I'm gonna spell Doctor Who, I'm probably just gonna have to get really good at starting multi-ball more than anything else, because you're not likely to get a double chance to get up to the top left flipper to get the O. If I got it right the first time, though, I guess I would be able to pull it off. And since we're so close to multi-ball, we might as well start multi-ball. Right. Get me the W and the O. That was the H, but we didn't have the W first. That's the W. Get the H. I think I have to start all over again. I gotta get really good at that shot. Alright, I got it. I don't know how I did it, but I spelled WHO. There is certainly something about Doctor Who that needs to be addressed as far as the tease of there being an answer. There is never going to be an answer to anything. Like, whatever gets answered even in one season will just potentially be erased or retconned or won't really matter. It's usually not actually retconned, but it doesn't matter. There is no finality to the Doctor Who series, and there never will be. I'm not sure I'd ever be able to get the third level of that video mode done, because I think it just gets harder. And again, that might be a case of using a Xbox One controller and having the long throw on flippers on so if I was using actual buttons, the reaction time would probably be higher. And that's something I should have nudged. And I'm not really doing anything at this point because I'm just waiting for this game to end, and then the wizard goals will unlock. I'm not sure if I've seen everything on this table already or not. There we go, I got an extra ball.
I do not mind the brisk pace for a Dalek or two. It's the obstacles that I hate.
And I just don't think I can lock that right chamber with the right flipper. Oh, I got all 7 doctors. Interesting. Part 3 continued. Replay at 200 million. There we go. So all 7 doctors are enabled. So unless there was a goal to do something else, almost made that. So that was a pretty great game. Interesting that it overlaps the doctors instead of showing all 7 doctors on the screen at the same time. There was a special Doctor Who where they showed like all 12 or 15 of the doctors at the same time, and they basically had to take old images because most of them were dead or visually had changed and aged so much. So, but it doesn't look too bad, but they did have to zoom out the camera very far to pull off that trick. So, complete the repair targets, complete video mode last wave, which that seems like that's fairly difficult. Complete the 50 cliffhanger ramp loops, score 50 cliffhanger ramp loops. Wow, that's crazy. Score a 300 million Davos Jackpot, collect 7 doctors on the same ball. Yeah, that seems like that's some crazy stuff there. There are 2 great scoring opportunities activated for the cliffhanger ramp. Each shot scores 1 million and lights 1 playfield multiplier. So you're supposed to get really good at that shot. Sonic booms. Yeah, they're talking about a lot of features here that I don't think I'd ever get. Wow. So they just literally want me to hit that ramp 50 times. I assume in the same game, not just over the lifetime. The 300 million Davos. Hit the time expander, lights the consoles, moves it up. Then you hit the targets. Once all 15 console lights are lit, the time expander rises, showing 3 scoops corresponding to 3 doors on the display. The scoop that is shot will determine the starting jackpot level. The jackpot for Gold Dalek is 40 million, Supreme Dalek is 45 million, and Emperor Dalek is 50 million. Davos for 100 million. And Davos for 200 million. And Davos for 300 million. Well, how do you get to the Davos? The first multi-ball will have Emperor Dalek in the center scoop, the Supreme Dalek on the right and in the left scoop. Subsequent multi-balls will have higher than the last jackpot level in the right and left scoop, and one center level at the one level higher at the center scoop. Shooting the scoop releases the 2 balls and starts 3-ball multi-ball. Shooting all 3 scoops to score the current jackpot. Scoring a jackpot raises the next jackpot by 1 level, with Davos 300,000 repeating itself when scored, 300 million. When Davos Jackpot begins, all 7 doctors are lit, and the time expander sits at the spot target level. Then shoot the scoops. All 5 targets must be completed to shoot for Davos 100 million. Okay, so just get a lot of jackpots. Best way to progress this table is to light the 7 incarnations of the Doctor. Each Doctor affects the area of the playfield, advancing progress and scoring towards the table feature. Doctor is lit each time a new ball is plunged. When the ball is plunged, use the flippers to select which Doctor you want and launch the ball to light the Doctor. Doctor is also lit when a transmat is scored or a video mode is completed. Lighting all 7 Doctors scores 20 million. All 7 Doctors in 1 ball is 60 million. All 7 Doctors also lit when the Davos Jackpot level is started in multi-ball. So if you get the Davos multi-ball, you get all 7 Doctors anyways. Alright. Particularly if you do that in your first ball. Here are what the 7 Doctors and what they affect. Doctor number 1 spots 1 letter in escape when the escape spot targets are hit. See video mode chapter for details on escape. Doctor number 2 starts hang on score at 500,000, increases by 500,000 per shot to a maximum of 4 million. Doctor number 2 also changes collision value from 100,000 per hang on completed. See that more details. Doctor number 3 doubles the timer to collect the WHO. Doctor number 4 spots a letter in repair. These are all very, very simplistic additions. And in all fairness, if you're going to have 7 different characters, they can't do that much. Unless you were going to have a 7-ball multi-ball, which would have been pretty cool for the time. Doctor number 5 increases the transmit power added per hit of the jump bumpers. Tin jet bumpers fills the transmit power. Doctor number 6, each shot to the cliffhanger ramp collects 2 playfield multipliers. And so I guess each piece of art is indicating what each Doctor does. So that explains why the art is the way it is. I don't agree with it, but it explains it. Doctor number 7 spots 1 console light per time expander shot. Okay. So that is a lot. So you pretty much want Doctor number 7 always before anything else. That's the one that's gonna make the most sense. Is to start with Doctor Number 7. And then when you're at ball 2, then you've already got a Doctor locked, so I don't see a way you get all 7 Doctors in one ball. That seems undoable. You might as well just exit the game and start over from ball 1 always.
You have to activate your console too.
That is really demanding to basically make the player restart their game after the first ball, or collect all 7 Doctors and then reset it, which I don't even know if you can reset it. Like, I think you may just keep the Doctors when you get the Doctors.
Expansion at factor 12.
Right.
Factor 9.
Oh, I guess you probably don't want Doctor Number 7. Come to think of it. Probably better off just getting Doctor Number 1 and starting chronologically through it.
Factor 0.
Yeah, that was a pretty bad game. I kind of don't want to play this anymore, so let's just look at the operator mode and, like, yeah, I just don't feel like the art is here, and I just don't feel like the angles are here. You've got a fairly difficult shot up here that you don't have to do too much, but then you have to hit this to hit this really difficult.
Warning. Keep hands away from mini playfield. See manual title page for more information.
Wow, so they were afraid it was going to literally crush people's hands. Like this upper ramp shot in particular. And see, these spaceships don't mean anything to me. I have no idea what that's supposed to represent. Far too many Daleks, far too much focus on the master. You really don't even hear the master's voice that much. Okay. And yeah, none of the companions are really getting depicted that well. Press start for help. There's no start button. I didn't do that right. Now you have to hit enter, and then you have to use the plus on this one. Adjustments. It's funny, it jumps the bookkeeping by default, but adjustments is labeled as A. It goes to really show that anybody using this system is going to look at the audits way more often than they're going to change how the table plays. And getting little secrets as far as what the percentage of a replay is really doesn't change much. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything that's interesting about that. I'm just going to go ahead and turn off all of this. Sonic boom all day. Looping is essential. Each shot raises it. When a cliffhanger ramp shot does not activate a sonic boom, the ball is dropped through the trap door here, and the upper left field can be looped. Every 10th challenger shot, however, will activate a sonic boom. When that happens, the ball will feed to the left flipper, and the WHO are lit for 10,000 points for 6 seconds. So you have to then do a whole different shot. That is a very complicated combo. Complete the letters in order, since the only way to collect all 3 is by shooting them in order. Keep in mind that sonic boom values are affected by the playfield multiplier. By looping a cliffhanger ramp at least 6 times before starting a sonic boom, each loader can be worth 40 million. Interesting. The video mode. These little IFPA pro tips aren't very useful. That they're not giving you real tips. So yeah, I think you just start with Dr. 1 here. And then theoretically, with ball control, you would spell escape. You would start. Well, that was weird. That didn't spell all repair. You can get the ball up to transmat, I suppose. And so if you just wanted to program, the or practice video mode, control mode, controlling the ball in this case might be helpful. And then going up here might let you practice the loop shot somewhat. And you can try and keep the ball amongst the bumpers. It feels like messing up a little bit on the short runs is way worse than messing up on the long ones. Seems like you can miss the long ones quite a bit as far as the escapes. And see, if you have ball control, you can potentially just run the ball all around this. Of course, the question is, Emperor Dalek there. And then you can easily just angle characters into, these are called scoops. I'm gonna have to pause and cough here. Let me take a drink of water. There we go. Hopefully that fixes that. And then you have to scoop all of these. Alright, so who are we aiming for now? I guess that's just Davos in general. So that's the Davos Jackpot, and you really do have to look at the art for the second jackpot to see which Davos you're trying to hit. Yeah, and when it's a Davos jackpot like this, it is again just it is just hitting them all. You see, there was like one ball stuck, even. Because I knew I hadn't drained out that third ball. Come on. But yeah, having ball control for 3 balls is crazy. Finally. And that's the 200,000. And it feels to me like we have only one doctor unlit at this point. And this once again is just Davos times 300 million. Come on. Come on, ball. There we go. 300,000. Which our next shot. So this one should be 400 million. Not thousand, million. This is still killing my fingers. This ball control sucks. I think you can kind of see though that this is asking a lot. Oh, it's 300 million again. Yeah. Let's just play, because it doesn't seem like I can get above the 300 million. Well, now it's at like 600 million. What happened there? Well, I probably got the score doubler, I guess. So is there anything else to even do on this table that I think I can actually pull off? No. Even cheating, I wasn't able to pull that off. I feel like even of these original 7 doctors also, there's probably only 3 that people really, really like. I wouldn't be surprised if it is close to a 50% ratio. Yeah, I am screwing this up pretty badly. Because I think I'm not selecting a doctor that hasn't already been collected before I launch doing the multi-ball. And arguably, it should just give me a random doctor. I'd also say this table's probably not saying any of the names of the actors, which is how they're known now, which is a little rude, but not uncommon by any means.
I don't mind the brisk pace for a Dalek or two. It's the obstacles that I hate.
So that's all 7 doctors. I don't think I got that in one ball though. So is the question then that the multi-ball here, we have Davos 300 million as the bonus. And see at this is Davos 300 million again. And there's only one Davos, so the fact that you're shooting 3 Davoses doesn't really make a lot of sense. Maybe there was one episode where Davos cloned himself or something. Davos, not a very well fleshed out character, just mentioned kind of as the creator of the Daleks, and the Daleks aren't even particularly well fleshed out characters. Until you put some really good episodes around it. And once again, I'm just killing my fingers to see if there's actually something that can happen here with all 7 doctors on the collected. I think the answer is probably no. And it definitely feels like this table kind of glitches, and sometimes those scoops are supposed to have a curtain around them and sometimes they aren't. Alright, let's just play at that point. Of course, the danger here is while I'm playing is I could accidentally drain 2 balls. Alright. So we hit that. Hit the center. Lock a ball. And it didn't ask me to select the doctor that time because I think I have all the doctors locked. And it didn't ask me to select the doctor that time. Where's the ball? I took my eyes off the screen for a second. That's something you can't do while playing pinball. Video wave last mode. Made it. And there were 3 targets there. And there's a different kind of Dalek that shoots him for escaping. Alright, we've got Davos 300 million again. So obviously I'm not doing something that needs to be done. And I have no idea what spelling escape would do at that point. Wave 5. 4 waves left. Yeah, this is getting harder and harder. But I feel like the game pretty much assumes you're done with the video mode by the 5th mode. Yeah, I feel like I've seen everything this table has to offer, and I'm not super impressed by it. The theme of the old Doctor is not impressive to me. I don't know how many people are still fans of the old Doctor because either the new Doctor probably supplanted the love for the old Doctor, or you hated the new Doctor from day one, or you hate the new Doctor now for its most recent terrible seasons. Which, with all those different options, I think that leaves a small percentage of people that actually like the old Doctor and like the new Doctor. I think, like many sci-fi fandoms, there is probably a lot of nostalgia and hate for the things that aren't your Doctor anyways. and that is the other side of the double-edged sword as far as nostalgia, is that you can easily try to tap into nostalgia and fail miserably because nobody wants anything new. I think if you look at like Star Trek the original series and Star Trek the Next Generation, which that might be two distinct fandoms, I like both Next Generation and the original series, but I'm much more enthralled with Next Generation. Like, the last thing I would want, having seen multiple attempts of making new Star Trek series, is more Star Trek, because clearly Paramount can't make anything that is as good as my nostalgic mind remembers. And I think Star Wars is pretty much in the same place as if you grew up with episode 4, 5, and 6, you probably weren't happy with the prequels, and you probably aren't happy with the sequels. But yeah, once again, get away from the I got a different high score. Interesting. Well, I'm getting specific high scores for specific mini games. It looks like that's an interesting idea. Although kind of pointless to make you put in double the number of letters for your initials, and that was a massively high score through cheating. But even at that, that's still like 2 billion. Whereas I imagine if we started looking at the leaderboards, and yeah, we have scores of 200 billion, which even if you dismiss this, you're still getting to like 20 billion, 10 billion. It's believable you could get 4 or 5 billion on this table. Let's see. Overall, all time, my score is 5,252, which is really high, and I think highlights that nobody is playing this table. Even having Doctor Who on the name, this is not a table that people are enthused by. And playing this on a Sunday, I made it to the top 7 of 22 people playing this table. I think it's once again worth pointing out the power creep that of the 22 people on a Sunday in about 2 days who have played this table, 12 million was the lowest score. And monthly's not going to be much better. Top 19. I'm playing this on the 4th day of the month. So, yeah, 67 people have played this table. Legitimately, I could do this. I have no idea what the actual last wave of video mode is, though. I think it's probably 3, the first 3. There's no way, really, I could do this. This was a 300 million Davos, so we did do that. But kind of unlikely that we'd ever be able to do that, too. And just to check in, that means right now we have 206 locked achievements for Pinball Arcade. And this is just yet another table that that it highlights the fact that you're just not going to get all the achievements on Pinball Arcade. Even if you were the best pinball player ever, I just don't think you're going to have one person that would purchase, own, and play each of these tables. And ironically, Fishtails has a possibility, so does Getaway, to really just be a way better designed and better playing table without the license of Doctor Who. Same is true for Getaway. Then we're going back to a licensed table of Dracula, and then I think that's Gladiator. Then we're back to licensed tables with Judge Dredd and Last Action Hero. So we have 3 licensed table for this one, whereas the row above, Creature from Black Lagoon may have been technically a license table, but in reality, I don't think too many people would have thought of it that way. So I wouldn't be surprised if we start to see a continuing theme for a couple of years of license tables that are bad, and then eventually we get the license tables that turn out to be pretty good. I may very well eat my words when we get to Star Trek The Next Generation, although in all fairness, the Star Trek The Next Generation pinball table is really just taking elements of nostalgia and doing it fairly well from the TV series, which I guess by the time that table had come out, the TV series must have completely aired because, or at least the first season must have completely aired because there's a lot of elements in it that feel like they would have been from the first season or 2 or 3 of the 5 seasons. Anyways, that's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend to follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. And if you want to support me further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.